Welcome back to Just Driven. We've got the Fast and Furious Skyline here. It was running, I swear. It ran for a little while, but it's currently not in a running state, and this is why. So the last time you guys saw this car, we were buttoning up what we needed to do for the gauges to all be fully functional on the inside of the cabin. We worked on the motorized airbag monitor module that is on a switch. By the way, the center monitor got finished and put back in there, but as you can see, the hood is no longer there for the center monitor for the MFD display. That is getting refinished, primed, sealed, painted, and clear coated to match that Bayside blue that the door panels are going to have and that instrument cluster is also going to have. We found an issue where the car had no power. At some point, a connector was not plugged back into the fuse box, so we had absolutely no power because we wanted to just check for leaks with the fuel system so that we could prime the fuel pump, make sure everything's working, make sure the gauges work, the monitors work, and that was all before that the car was gonna go over to Works Corsa to get finalized and finish the downpipe modifications, attach the HKS catback exhaust for this car because that's what the movie car had, and what else did he have to finish? Oh, he had to make us an air intake for the twin turbo setup. It was just something to be simple, functional. It's hidden under the stock airbox because Craig had the carbon airbox option, so you don't see the filter or anything like that, and we weren't doing anything crazy regardless, so same thing. But things didn't go as planned. The car ended up going over to Works Corsa and he modified the downpipe. He started going through all the first run checks. Pressurized the cooling system to make sure it held vacuum. That way you know if you're losing vacuum, you have a leak somewhere. Didn't see a leak with the tester and started to proceed on filling the cooling system. Found a tiniest pinch of a heater hose on the back underneath the intake manifold, which you have to access from the underside of the car. And that just starts pissing coolant out. We had an array of hoses left over from other projects. We happened to have another R34 project that we did the HPS silicone hoses on, so we had another set of stock hoses we could use. Put that on, repressurized it, all good, no problem. There was an issue with one of the oil drains. After everything settled and was mounted properly, it had a slight kink that was a little bit awkward for the drain. So we addressed that, fixed it. Now it's got proper flow for the turbo drain on the front turbocharger. This thing is gonna run only on E85. So it has a Walbro 450 liter per hour fuel pump with a direct relay, like you're supposed to upgrade on the Skylines to have more direct voltage and proper power to that Walbro 450. We're running 1000cc ID 1050X injectors, and Danny and Jason made some adjustments on the Commander just so it could start up. The car fired right up, no problem. We're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, we're dyno ready. All the leaks were fixed. And he's like, you know what, this twin turbo system and the intake and stuff we wouldn't generally do. So we put a twin turbo setup on an RB25. Let's make sure we don't have any boost leaks because now we have a lot more hose connections for the turbo side. The intake manifold isn't a Hypertune, it isn't a Plasma Man. It is a Chinese or Taiwan manufactured intake manifold. So they're like, we tend to not have great luck with those, so let's do a boost leak test and see what's going on. The freaking intake manifold has a warped flange. Then you start second guessing yourself. We're like, did we put a new gasket? Did we RTV around like the water outlet holes and all that? The cylinder head flange on the intake side has air, and then it also has square ports for water manifold. The water manifold stuff is separate on this intake manifold, and it runs through 4 lines and then the filler neck thing that we're gonna show you guys in a minute. The car fired up, it idled great, but they did the boost leak test and they could hear it hissing out of the intake manifold on runner 5 and 6. Okay, let's confirm again. So put everything back to the way it was, fire it up, shoot some brake cleaner in there, idle changes. He's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I could take it on and off and like grind it down until it's level. We could double gasket it, we could throw a ton of RTV on it, and we're like, dude, let's tow it back, take the intake manifold off. We've dealt with this in the past, but Dude, that was over 20 years ago when Chinese manufactured parts were just starting to come out and certain clients were like, I can't afford a Greddy intake manifold, let's just buy this one. And back then, like the cast pieces were actually decent and it always worked out. We had to fix it now. The car ran, it sounded really good. But yeah, we have to deck that intake manifold, make sure it's true. I have another new OEM Nissan metal crush gasket for the intake manifold side. The other thing is that we could have done this the easy way. Stack the gasket, add RTV on the head side, on the manifold side, throw it on there, boost leak it, call it a day. It might be fine forever. It's such a pain in the ass to keep doing this stuff.
We noticed it started mixing a little oil. We were a little concerned about it. Rather than using gasket sealer to fix the problem, we decided to send the heads out, have them resurfaced. Adrian came up with a fix. What we need to do is pull everything apart and machine that spacer plate.
We took the intake manifold off. We're gonna make it true, put a new gasket, seal it properly, and not deal with this again because this sucks. The car was so close to being done in terms of drivability. Front bumper's already been fitted, so it's just been staying off for the sake of loading on and off the trailer, doing the dyno stuff. Once it was coming back from dyno, we fit the bumper for the last time, plug the fog lights in, put everything in, align it, and this car's ready to go to its next outing. So we really need to hustle now. I'm gonna show you guys that intake manifold and what I was talking about so you can get a clear understanding of the warping of the intake manifold. So this is said intake manifold. It kind of sucks because like you look at the inside of the intake manifold and the rolled edges on the tubing for the runners, like everything looks really decent. If you look at Japanese welding for drift cars, race cars in the early mid 2000s, even some shops still today, dude, those welds look so haggard, but they work. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like at the end of the day if it's functional. This looks pretty, but it's not functional, so it really sucks for us. These are the two runners that we are gonna have to deal with. And like I mentioned, these square ports that you see here are the cylinder head water outlet, and that goes to the water neck for the upper radiator hose. That's also where the engine coolant temp sensors tied in for the ECU and for the gauge on the instrument cluster. It sucks for the fact that they don't put this maybe on a jig. It's not mounted on a like thick, hard surface like a cylinder head. So that way it stays true after this is fully welded. And I feel like that's possibly why these two runners are the only ones out of true. If this gets decked evenly with a new fresh gasket, it's off by, I don't know, like a really small amount, like a few thousandths maybe. But we're also gonna go ahead and get our own piece of block aluminum that we could check for trueness. Not only for this manifold, we're gonna start doing this for anything to do aftermarket because we keep running into these little issues where certain turbo manifolds we have to modify and machine the turbo flange outlet. From the manifold, the runners go up, the manifold flange is there, turbo doesn't sit there properly, and it's ovaled. And they're all the wastegate flanges, everything we buy and have purchased through these manufacturers are all either Garrett, Precision, Tile, like it's their branding. So if they change their manufacturers and stuff is getting warped due to material thickness or what type of material it is to begin with, then it's just shit we have to deal with. But now we want to have a way to always check that everything is true and that when we install it and put it in the car, we don't have to deal with this because this sucks. We had to clean a ton of RTV, mainly around the coolant ports, but it's just, we made everything super pretty to begin with because we're like, this is the fresh part, it's new, it's not gonna come off, but here we are dealing with it again. This is now gonna be the second time that we have to deal with this intake manifold and resealing everything, replumbing the water neck setup, boost leak test this side specifically. Once all this is mounted on and fixed, we're gonna put the throttle body on, boost leak test the intake manifold side to begin with. That way we don't bleed the cooling system and do everything all over again only to find that this is still leaking. So this goes back on, boost leak test, it passes, we put the intercooler piping back on, fill the cooling system, and schedule that dyno day with unrivaled tuning and get this thing to make some power so it can come back, get aligned, and get road ready. All right, guys, I know it's been a long time since we've been doing build progress update videos or build videos in general, hoping to bring that back. But the next time you see this car, it's gonna be on the dyno, it's gonna be making power, it's gonna be getting aligned. We have a shoot that this car needs to be out at, the Supra, and the Charger. The next issue is still dealing with that fucking Charger. But the Skyline will be ready. And the Supra is always ready. I mean, the Japanese cars reign supreme in here anyway, so those will always be ready. And build updates are gonna keep happening, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.